Hello! Hi, I'm Becca, and this is my BookTube. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're seeing this after seeing one of my previous videos. Welcome if you are new here. Today I just wanted to talk to you guys about a book that I just read really quickly this past week. Not in any rush kind of way. I hate rush reading a book. The only time I've ever really been okay with doing that is if I had to read a book that I wasn't really enjoying for school and I had to get through it to do assignments, or if it's a book that I haven't really been enjoying and I just want to kind of like skim through to get to the end, so I can move on. Like the Throne of Glass books, I skimmed through a lot of Tower of Dawn. A lot of people really struggle with that book, so I thought there were a lot of really fun pieces to it, but it was definitely one of the ones that I was just like, I just needed to get to the important information. So we're not talking about that right now. Today I'm going to be talking to you about A Tempest of Tea. This is a book that just came out this past fall of 2024, and I vaguely remember seeing stuff about it coming up. It wasn't really enough on my radar that it was making me think it was going to be a book that I was going to pick up anytime soon. I feel like I've seen people make videos about what they might not have liked about it. I'm going to tell you right now, I really enjoyed this book. I realized this past winter that I have forgotten how much I enjoy vampire stories, and this is set in a vampire world. It is written by Hafsah Faizal, which I really hope I'm saying her name correctly. She wrote the We Hunt the Flame duology, which is on my TBR. It's a book that it's a book pairing that I haven't read yet, but it is a book pairing that I had thought about reading at one point because I remember reading the synopsis and thinking that it seemed very interesting, but just for like the mood I was in. I'm a bit of a mood reader. I wouldn't call myself a strict mood reader, but definitely the mood I was in at the time was not leaning towards that. Also, I'm pretty sure the main character, the female main character, is an archer, and I think I kind of got deluded on that. I just feel like there have been a lot of main characters who are archers recently or have some subset of skill with a bow and arrow, and I just felt like I was getting too much of it and I kind of needed a break. Now, after reading this and seeing the talent that this author has, I really want to read more of her books. This one is the first in a duology, so I get to read the sequel when it comes out this upcoming September 2025. But without further ado, let me read you the blurb. It says, "Why save the world when you can have tea?" On the streets of White Roaring, Arthi Casimir is a criminal mastermind and a collector of secrets. Her prestigious tea room transforms into an illegal bloodhouse by night, catering to the vampires feared by society. But when her establishment is threatened, Arthi is forced to strike an unlikely deal with an alluring adversary to save it, and she can't do the job alone. Calling on some of the city's most skilled outcasts, Arthi hatches a plan to infiltrate the sinister, glittering vampire society known as the Ethereum. But not everyone in her ragtag crew is on her side, and as the truth behind the heist unfolds, Arthi finds herself in the midst of a conspiracy that will threaten the world as she knows it. I need to make a quick disclaimer. This also has to do with the praise for the book that's written on the back. There's praise from Rebecca Ross, the author of Divine Rivals and many other books, which I absolutely love. She writes amazing romance and relationship and storytelling. Marissa Meyer is one of the other people who wrote praise for this. They both talked about how romantic it was, and oh no wait, at least Rebecca Ross said a hint of romance, because it was literally just like the barest of hints. Marissa Meyer is like, see me kissing. Yeah, there is kissing, but it's like so minimal, and it's in the last like 1% of the book. So I spent the whole book thinking more was gonna happen, and it didn't happen. So yeah, that that's the disclaimer, is not as romantic as I was anticipating. Still a lot of cute romance, but not as much as I thought was going to exist in the story. But lots of great twists and turns. It was very, very much like the Six of Crows duology. The Crooked Kingdom is the other book in that. I really, really enjoyed it. Arthie, our main character, could definitely be compared to Kaz Brekker. I love to say this about him. He is my moody, broody boy. He is this dark little emo. No one understands me. I have so much pain. I don't trust the world. Like, he's just such a deeply moody, broody boy. And he's a really, really good leader of his crew and stuff, but he definitely has much more of a deep, vengeful motivation to his character, whereas Arthie does not. Like, she is very protective of herself. She does know who has done her wrong, and she doesn't deny that, but her daily motivations and behavior, her like life fuel, is not vengeance like Kaz Brekker's is. So she is still very deadpan and blank, very much like Kaz Brekker. She is very, very much like cunning, doesn't trust anyone, so plans 10 steps ahead, plans for every failure and everything like that, but definitely more lighthearted. So one thing that I feel like this author has an advantage on that I don't know all the details and specifics of, so I'm not even going to try to guess, but she's obviously not writing from a like white perspective, and I think we need more of that. One of my favorite books that I ever read in 2022 or 2023 was Legendborn, and it was because it wasn't written from a white perspective, and it was written from a perspective where people had experienced some very negative things from white people, and the white people were not the heroes, and I was like, good, let's stop telling that story. Not don't tell your own story. Let's hear the story of other people and validate some of their experiences. So there's a lot of talk about colonization. This main character right here, she portrays her very much as having like Indian, like Asian Indian heritage. She talks about remembering what her mom looked like in her sari. At one point she also dons a sari in the story. And so she is described as having brown skin, but she dyes her hair lavender, like a light purple, and she does it to distract people from her skin, so that way she can escape a little bit of the racism that she feels like happens in their story. She owns this tea shop with her adoptive brother, who is named Jin. Jin is also possibly orphaned. His family home went up in a fire when he was in his late childhood, early teens. He wants to believe that his parents survived the fire because there's no evidence of them being in the house and dying in the fire, but his parents have also been missing for about a decade. So if they're alive, where are they is the question. He's holding out hope that they're alive and that he's going to find them someday, but him and Arthie don't really know for sure. They met the day of his parents' disappearance, and basically adopted each other because they were both alone. They needed someone to lean on. Grew up together essentially like on the streets, working their way up. He was part of kind of an upper middle class family at the time, and was doing well in life, and had to rebuild with Arthie, and the two of them rebuilt their lives together. Okay, so like I said, Arthie and Jin, they have their tea shop. Their tea shop is kind of under threat. There's a possibility that they'll lose it, and so they are trying to figure out how to save it. This mysterious person, one of the King's guards, shows up to talk to Arthie and offers her this situation that there's an item that has been stolen and is going to go up for auction, they believe. That he thinks if they steal it back, they can use it as a bartering chip to save their tea shop. The tea shop part of it is successful, but it's not as important to Arthie and a lot of the people in that area as the blood den, because in this society there are vampires, and there's a lot of legal structure around the vampires feeding. They have to have consent in order to legally feed, and so if they're just like walking outside and go down a back alley and snatch someone and feed off of them, they're breaking the law. And they need to have consent from the humans that they feed from in order to feed legally. So when Arthie establishes her little blood den, it's not even just necessarily for vampires to come and feed off of physical humans. There are people who are willing to just donate blood and allow Arthie to have a blood store so that the vampires can come and essentially like drink it out of a teacup. The tea descriptions in this are amazing. I feel like there should be character tea pairings that we could buy. Like, I don't know, I need to find someone who has a tea company and ask them to help make some tea pairings for these characters, because a lot of them talk about the kind of tea that they like to drink, what they like to put in their tea. There's one character that puts way too much sugar in his tea. Unfortunately, the vampires, like human food, they can eat it, but it just tastes like ash. So they don't really get to enjoy the tea. They can enjoy coconut water. So one of the things that does get offered at the tea house for the vampires when they come in is like a teacup with coconut water and blood in it, as like a sweet drink for them. So it's an important business to them. It's important to the structure of the city, but it is threatened. So they assemble a crew. Arthie is the planner. She is the one who knows what's going to happen. She's the schemer. Jin is a pickpocket and is really good at like wiring things electrically. He is like very tactile. He reminds me very much, if we're talking about the Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom duology, he reminds me very, very much of the boy. Oh crap, what's his name? Who's Jesper's boyfriend? Waylon? Van Eck? Wylan. He reminds me very much of Wylan Van Eck, in the sense that he is from this wealthy family and is kind of their science engineering person. And then, but he also has a bit of like a Jesper to him because he's the right hand, like he's Arthie's right hand, and is a little bit of like her wiry bodyguard. So I really liked that. And then there's this other girl character that gets brought in. Her name is Flick. And she is from an upper class family and she is their forger. She has her own motivations for the heist. That she's kind of considering backstabbing Arthie and Jin, even though her and Jin have a little bit of inkling towards each other. They hadn't really acted on any of it yet, but they have googly eyes for each other. And it's very, very cute and very sweet. And then we have the Kingsguard, who is kind of, he has asserted himself into the situation. The rest of them don't really want him there, but he has put himself into the situation. And then there's also this other vampire who is a little bit like reluctantly part of the situation. They kind of goad him into it. Jin doesn't like him. Arthie can't figure out why she's like drawn to him. So there's also a little bit of like a love triangle situation happening where Jin keeps thinking she likes either the Kingsguard guy or the vampire guy, and she like can't figure out what to do because they both give her fluttery feelings in different ways at different times. So that was interesting to watch pan out. And it was really nice because it was not a Hunger Games situation where it was like Gale and Peeta fighting over her and fighting for her affection. They were both just kind of like doing their own thing, not really liking each other as like guys that were getting her attention, but definitely giving her her own space to be herself and think for herself. So yeah, they spend like most of the beginning part of the book is planning the heist and them getting into where they were going. Yeah, let me show you. This top part right here, that's before they even get to the heist. And then that's the heist. And then that's the end of the book. So what I really enjoyed about this book, one of the things was that the author was incredibly talented. She did an amazing job showing instead of telling. She told at the appropriate times when it was necessary, like little tidbits, but there was so much show, and it was so well crafted, and it wasn't too overdone. The like sounds and smells and energy that you could interpret from her writing was so good. She's very, very poetic. A lot of the like opening paragraphs for each chapter had these like really just beautifully poetically written things. This one was one of my favorites. It's right at the beginning. It says, Jin loved the sea, the hush hush of the waves, the lazy sway of the moored boats. He loved its lie, the calm that masked strength like a beast unprovoked. Like, it's so beautiful. It's so well written to where you can, if you know about the ocean, if you know about the sea, it has such a like mask of calm and beauty sometimes, and we know that it's a scary thing. And so there's a lot of really beautifully poetically written things like that. The pace of the story was really, really good. I don't feel like we wasted too much time in too many places. We had good momentum. The character development was really good. Each character had its own behaviors, that they were very believable, very easy to understand. I will say one thing I kind of struggled with reading it is that I like and dislike this, honestly. There were a lot of places where she would not use, oh look, it's right here. She wouldn't use dialogue tags every once in a while, which is totally fine. It's an acceptable form of writing. I do feel like sometimes she didn't add other hints to let us know who the dialogue was for. Usually if you omit a dialogue tag, it should be very clear who the dialogue belongs to, and I just feel like there were a few times where I couldn't fully figure it out. I mean, that might be a little bit on me as a reader not being able to pick it up, but I really don't feel like as an author your reader should be having to try that hard to follow the dialogue tags. If you're going to omit a dialogue tag, it needs to be super clear who's talking so that your reader doesn't have to backtrack too many times to find that answer. A lot of times I really don't like multi-point of view books because of the fact that usually the author will give us a cliffhanger on a character and then just jump to another character for the next chapter. And then you're left in panic about that other character. You have to read someone else's perspective. And if it's not that interesting, like in Kingdom of Ash, that happens repeatedly. Oh my gosh, I read that book and every single time we switched to a certain character's point of view, I was like, I don't care. Go away. I am busy panicking over someone else right now. So I struggled a little bit with that. Not too bad, but it was something. What was there something else I didn't like about it? So one of the other things I kind of struggled with is there were a few times where she was describing what was going on, like what the characters were doing in a space. And I feel like I couldn't track where people were or what they were doing. It was very challenging for me. I don't know if I was missing something or it just like that isn't the kind of descriptive writing she uses, which I understand. Some authors don't really go into a ton of detail about where characters are when they move around a room. But yeah, there were just a few times where I just like, it took me out of the story a little bit because I couldn't picture what was happening. So yeah, like I said, I read this over the course of this week. I really feel like with the way that it's paced, and really it's a pretty small book, I feel like, compared to a lot of other books I've read. I think if I had like the time and uninterrupted energy I could have read this in about a day. If I like started at the beginning of the day and went in. There were a couple times I really wanted to stay up late to read it, and I just couldn't keep my eyes open because I'd had too long of a day. But yeah, it's a super quick read, super fun to read. Amazing ending. Oh my gosh, I wish I had been recording myself when I read the last like 10 chapters maybe, because it was just like shock after shock after shock. And I will say there was a reveal that I kind of saw coming. So unfortunately, that reveal wasn't super shocking to me. In the book, it talks about like the vampires and their lore and like about the different kinds of vampires. So in this, there's essentially two kinds of vampires. There's the vampire that is turned at the end of a life. They are like on their dying breath. So the human dying drinks the vampire's blood with their dying breath, essentially. And they get turned, and they are just straight up a vampire. And then there are half vampires who are not dying. They're still human and essentially living normal human lives and drink vampire blood. And they essentially go through like a slow turning process, and they're considered half vampires. And so there was a situation that I kept picking up the breadcrumbs on because I felt like they were kind of obvious breadcrumbs for me. Maybe for other people reading they weren't super obvious, and I hope if you were one of those people that you enjoyed it, because I feel like it would have been a super interesting reveal to get to if you weren't seeing it coming. But there's a character that gets to be revealed as a half vampire, and you hear their turning story. But I will say that in hearing the turning story, I did not expect the information that followed and surrounded the turning story. That definitely was a shock to me, and that definitely was something I didn't see coming. So that was exciting to get that like shocking information and have to process it. I was like just sitting there like staring at the book like what? And so yeah, the romance comes in the last couple chapters as well, and that's super shocking. Like her decision about what to do between the two guys, the Kingsguard and the vampire guy, like her having to come to a decision about how to respond to them is kind of shocking. Flick and Jin having their romance kind of come to a head is just satisfying. It's not shocking. It's very sweet. They finally kiss. That's it. They kiss. And they smile, and it's very sweet. It's very beautiful. But yeah, there were a lot of just like back-to-back shocking twists and reveals that happened, just like rapid fire. And if I say anything else, this will just become a spoiler video. But I will say we are left with some pretty solid questions at the end of the book. A character that has been alluded to is and is not actually part of like the narrators in the story shows up as like the last chapter, kind of like an epilogue type thing, and that character kind of swoops in and rescues another character. And so my guess is that at the start of the next book that those two characters are going to be in a space together, and we are going to get to know this new character who we have been hearing about as alluded to as a character that has existed for a really long time in this world, but we didn't meet necessarily in this. I have a feeling that we might have met the character. Like that's just my theory for the storytelling, as far as like things certain characters said and did. I do think we met that character. I just don't think that they revealed themselves as their true identity in this book. So I was looking it up today, I think it was, maybe last night, but the sequel to this book is called A Steeping of Vengeance. Oh, let me double check. A Steeping of Blood, and the cover looks stunning. And this is set to release in September of 2025, September 23rd to be precise. So yeah, I'm excited. Looking forward to that release now. And I've got to get my shelf trophy of this. So yeah, if you enjoy stories with vampire characters in them, if you enjoy heist stories, if you enjoy stories with people of color as the main characters, if you enjoy stories that point the finger at colonization and call it what it is, she doesn't hold back, and I am so happy about it. I really liked the almost like Depression era, steampunky type, like 1920s vibe. There was electricity in it. There were like light switches and bulbs and stuff, but there weren't cars. Everybody was going around in horse and carriage. So maybe like late 1800s, early 1900s type category for the setting. One of the characters wears a cute little like beret as her usual hat. I love this one. It has like a little newsy cap. And she has a pocket watch, and she wears cute little like vest and trouser combinations. So yeah, just a very, very fun story. Very beautiful. That was A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal. Again, I really hope I'm saying that right, and maybe at some point I will learn how to say it perfectly, and then I won't feel bad about it. But you should definitely check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Share it with your friends if you think they would be interested in reading this book. Let me know if you guys have read it or if it's on your TBR. And I will see you guys next week. Bye. If you are new here, wow, are you serious? That's so annoying. Oh, that was a spam call. Oh, I did such a good job. Okay, well, we're gonna try again. Welcome back. Welcome. Yep. We did a good job, and now we're sweating. Okay. There's a bird making the weirdest noise outside, and I keep thinking it's the microphone or the camera. Okay. Marissa Meyer. I'm really starting to think that beeping sound is not coming from outside. The beeping sound is coming from my memory bank. That's a little concerning. I hope you can't hear that. An epitaph? Epilogue? I have no idea how to end this video.